Blog Talk Radio. Welcome, living beneficiaries. This is your host, Rick Hidalgo, otherwise known as Eugene Richard of the House of Hidalgo. This is the House of Hidalgo show on the estate, and I thank you very much for being here. I want to give you a little information here at the very top and let you know that, first of all, you can find us at www.blogtalkradio.com/South Dakota DP. That's like double play. So it's blogtalkradio.com/South Dakota DP. Our official website is www.therockofsalem.org. That's therockofsalem.org. That's where you can find all our archives, sign up for our newsletter, take our online survey, give us, tell us how good we're doing or how bad we're doing. It's all up to you. It's an interactive website. I appreciate you going and checking that out. Also, if you're on Twitter or Facebook, we are also on there at House of Hidalgo. It's hashtag House of Hidalgo. So today got a special guest. It's a very laid back version of the House of Hidalgo show today. We've got our special guest Stephen Roberts on. We've had him on before. Last time he was served as more of a co-host. This time he's actually my guest who's going to take up this hour discussing things related to journalism. He is a journalist. He's also host of a show called Cancel the Cabal, which can be found on I think it's called MRI Radio. If I have that wrong, MSI Radio. Great radio station. But without any further ado, I'm going to bring him on. Stephen, are you with us?
Yes, I am, Rick. Thank you for having me on again. Yes, as you stated there a few seconds ago, I am both on MSI Radio, Media Streaming International Radio, and TBN, Truth Broadcast Network, Harry Links Network out of Canton, Ohio. I'm currently doing two shows, but they're both at the same time. I simulcast them, so it makes it easy. But no, I'll go ahead and let you. It's your show. I'll let you run it.
Okay, there is a little bit of a delay between us here, so I'll take caution on that. But I want to I want to introduce you as, first of all, a journalist. And I know that you went to school for that, and that's kind of where you had some of your awakening experience was as you took the journalism class. Could you maybe take us back a little bit and tell us what got you interested in journalism? What's the backstory on that?
Well, prior to September 11th, 2001, I was unaware of anything that was happening in America or the world, for that fact. I was asleep, unaware. I didn't know what was going on in the world because I was into other things like so many millions of Americans are, and not just Americans, but people in general on the planet. There are too many distractions, so many distractions out there for people to concentrate on and to keep them occupied on the actual corruption and the things that matter to people. And I was one of them. But that wasn't my actual awakening point. That was my political awakening point, my geopolitical awakening. That's when I became aware of national and international events that affect everyone. But my actual awakening came in the spring of 2009 when Alex Jones came out with his film called The Obama Deception. And that film was a catalytic event that blew my paradigm apart, the false left-right paradigm, so to speak. And that's when I knew that both sides of the two-party dictatorship here in America are working against our greater needs and our will. They're working against our will, and they're working to implement things such as a UN takeover or some other kind of a hostile takeover.
Sure.
But
and,
at spring of...
Go ahead, Steve.
No. I just wanted to say it was in the spring of 2009. That's when I had my geopolitical awakening, my true awakening to the elite and their plans.
Right. And a lot of us had that type of experience. In fact, I hate to give him much credit because he is really a fear monger, but Alex Jones is probably the way that I mostly became aware of the things that were going on. So I do have to give him some credit on that hand. But so we have that in common. So what made you decide to go into journalism, and what did you learn when you got there?
Well, I had initially enrolled into college, oddly enough, right around that same time. I enrolled into college, I believe, in February of 2009, so it was sort of getting on the late winter. And then just a couple months later is when I caught on to Jones. Probably not even 2 months later, but then just a matter of weeks, I caught on to Jones and his film. I was in my first block of classes, and one of my two classes was IT, Internet Technology. That's what I enrolled into. I thought I would be a geek. I thought I'd be some kind of an Internet technology whiz, work on websites and web development and video editing and all that geek stuff. But I soon found out that it wasn't that program that I had gotten into. I had gotten into computer programming, and that deals with computer code and all that deals with that. And I realized quickly I was in over my head. And the other class that in that first block was a communications class. So as my bubble or my paradigm burst open, I realized IT or internet technology, it it just wasn't for me. It was just over my head. And as I said, my bubble burst, and I switched over the next day into mass communications, which is effectively journalism.
So, Stephen, what you in the past you've taught me some things concerning journalism, different states of mind, how they manipulate through the way they process information. Could you maybe take us through some of those things and teach the listeners what it is that journalists are actually learning in these classes and why it is that they turn out to be, the agents of misinformation that they are?
Sure, absolutely. What they have taught me was also what is called logical thinking or critical thinking. That is one of the basics of journalism. All journalists are taught critical thinking and logical thinking. And in the logical thinking realm are the logical fallacies. What these logical fallacies are, it's basically called rhetoric. And what rhetoric is, you break down the actual definition of rhetoric, and the most simple and basic definition for rhetoric is manipulations. And rhetoric comes in both written and speech form. So basically, any type of communication is rhetoric, whether it's in the written or the spoken word. And you basically think about it. You speak to somebody, you are trying to manipulate them, whether it's for good or bad. Rhetoric is not a bad word. It's just indifferent. It's just a word. And manipulation is also not considered a bad word. It's just indifferent. You can manipulate somebody for good, or you can manipulate somebody for bad. Rhetoric is used in journalism. It's used in government. It's used in advertising, as we know. You can see a very good example is of the use of rhetoric is the Coke versus Pepsi ads, or the Budweiser versus Miller ads, Bud Light versus Miller Light ads. That's just basic, plain and simple rhetoric there. Manipulations. Some of the forms of rhetoric, Did you want to say something there, Rick?
No, Stephen, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to go into some of the basic forms of manipulations. One of their biggest tricks that they use is called the straw man attack, or the straw man fallacy. And what the straw man is, of course, you being into the sovereign movement, you have a little bit of an idea what the straw man is. What the straw man fallacy in the use of rhetoric and the use of manipulation is, one party will demonize the other. Instead of attacking the message, they will attack the messenger, and that's the basic definition of the straw man fallacy in the realm of rhetoric.
Very interesting. So, what other tricks can you share with us that they use? One of one of the things that I notice when I watch mainstream media, and it's not very often anymore. I try to stay away from it as much as I possibly can because I realize that they're twisting things. You got guys like what's his name? He's got the no spin zone, which is full of spin. so anyhow, how do you is there other degrees of spin that you can go into, or I don't know anything about journalism, so I'm just kind of letting this be an open platform for you to explain to us what what it is that they're doing.
Well, sure, absolutely. I guess I should preface. I should have prefaced this in the beginning, Rick. What they taught me in journalism school is when a logical fallacy or rhetoric is being used on you and you can recognize it, that argument should be fully invalid. It should be discounted as a true and valid argument. So what that means is if you recognize the straw man attack being used on you, you can automatically discount that information that is being given to you. Like say, if you're watching one of these nighttime programs, and I can name them if that's okay, because we're trying to expose these things. But Fox News will have Bill O'Reilly or Sean Hannity are two of their highest rated programs. Bill O'Reilly or Sean Hannity will have a guest on that has a certain argument. Now, it doesn't really matter what the argument is. You can disagree with somebody, but if you attack them personally without attacking the message, that's where the straw man fallacy comes in. And these two are very, very good, as well as many others on CNN or MSNBC. Chris Matthews is another. Piers Morgan is another. They're very good at the straw man attack. They attack the person themselves instead of attacking the message, and that's where the straw man is. And when they do, their argument should be fully discounted. That's the ramifications of the straw man.
Wow. Okay. Now that I know that, I think if I ever get bored and decide to turn on the TV to mainstream media, I'll look for those counter methods, and we'll see if we can't detect them as they happen. I'm sure they happen all the time. I could think just off the top of my head, of several times. Even Randy Shannon, who was the lady who ran in Iowa and decided to drop out of the race and join what they call the shadow government, that's the tactic that they used against her. They never attacked her message. They always attacked her. They always tried to make her out and belittle her. Is that what you mean?
Yes, exactly. That's the straw man attack right there. And one of their other, they have many tricks. They use many fallacies in their daily workings. Another one would be what's called a red herring. Red, the word red, like the color red, and herring, like the little fish, the little sea fish. Red herring, spelled the same way. And what that actually is a deception. I'm getting a little bit of a feedback. I'm not sure if it's you or me or what, Rick, but
I'll mute myself.
I'll just go.
Yeah, I'll mute myself while you talk.
Okay. What the red herring is a deception in the way of redirecting someone's attention to something else. If you will ever notice, and you will, one of these political pundits will have a politician on, and they will ask the politician a question. And the politician might talk for 5 minutes and say 450 words, but never address the question given to them, to him or her. And that's what a red herring is. It's a misdirection. You're trying to misdirect somebody away from the subject at hand. That's another very, very big tactic as far as a deception that the media and government will use. It's not just government, but media uses it also.
And Stephen, this is something that they actually teach in journalism school, these tactics?
To a certain point. I think once you get, it's actually taught in critical thinking class in college. And critical thinking class is one of the prerequisites for journalism. But I don't have proof of this yet. But once they get to a certain point, and as the conspiracy goes, journalists are the big boys, if you want to call them. They are given these positions, and they are trained. This is my conspiracy, anyways. But they are trained in and versed in all of the logical fallacies, and they are taught how to use them to deceive us. This is my belief because I can watch one of these shows and I can pick the arguments apart and see the logical fallacies. So this is widely known if anyone does listen to Alex Jones, because he's the one that brought me to this attention. I was listening to him one day, like I told you, and he was talking about a video clip that he had seen, and what he actually did was he said, "That's a clear straw man attack," and that got my attention because I was in that class when he said that, when he said those words. So I went to YouTube and searched that particular clip up, and I watched that, and there it was right in front of me. It was a clear straw man attack. Right then and there is one of the main catalysts of what blew my entire paradigm apart, because I was in critical thinking, and I had recognized the argument, and I could pick it apart, and that's the actual event that made me switch over into mass communications. The very next day was Alex Jones talking about that straw man attack, because I knew what that was.
Wow. So then, Stephen, is that what led you to what you're doing now with Cancel the Cabal? Is that kind of the road, the journey for you? You kind of went from journalism to seeing the deception, and then it moved you into mass communications, and that's what led you now into the Cancel the Cabal. Is that about right?
Yes, absolutely. As I said, I had that vision right on that early afternoon. Alex Jones comes on at noon here Eastern time, and I don't even know what time of the day it was. It could have been his first, second, or third hour that he actually said that those two words, straw man. And I had this vision right from the day that I switched over into journalism. I had this vision of having some kind of a show and showing the different deceptions of the media and government. So I studied very, very hard in the critical thinking class. It was actually my very best class that I had. I got a score of 981, just 19 points shy of being a perfect 1,000. You know, it's not the best score ever in any college class, but it was the best score I had.
I can understand that, Stephen. I didn't care much for college, so I didn't put a lot of effort behind it myself, and later on I had to complete it online in order to justify all those student loans that I paid off afterwards. But I appreciate your message, and I appreciate what you're trying to do in exposing this. What we know now as a corporation. Do you have any particular shows where you've brought media pundits on and been able to expose people, or maybe give us some of your best experiences on your show so far?
Well, one of the best I've had is Alfred Adask. He's not a pundit or anything like that. To tell you the truth, I haven't even tried to get any type of mainstream political pundit on. I just don't want to be part of their system, and I wouldn't even care to have them on.
Sure.
I've never been contacted by anybody, and I would probably just respectfully deny even if anyone did contact me, as I'm trying to fight that system, and I don't want to give them any type of credence or any type of time.
Right, and I can totally respect that. So then you were starting to name off some of the better shows that you've had. I know you've been doing this a little longer than I have. When did you start that?
I actually started the internet television broadcasting at the end of January of this year, so it's only been a little over 5 months now. And the MSI radio show has only been about, I think, maybe 4 weeks now, 3.5 to 4 weeks, and that's been about it. So I don't really have a lot of experience myself either, but I'm still learning, and I'm still getting better.
Right. Would you want to tell people, what your experience with MSI has been so far? I know that you're dealing with an international community there, and I've been on there a few times and listened, and it's very refreshing, because those people are very well versed and knowledgeable in the areas of sovereignty. So what's your experience with MSI been so far?
Oh, it's been totally wonderful there. As you just stated, they are about the sovereignty movement. They are totally about that. They are about, well, it's called Media Streaming International, but it's also called MSI Radio Seeking Solutions. And they are actually formerly TNS Radio Seeking Solutions. So what the biggest basic solution is to them is the sovereignty movement. And I think they're right. I think we can take our own power back with sovereignty. I just don't see giving anybody any power anymore. We need to take it back. That's plain and simple solution right there.
Agreed. They every time I've been on there, there's been a different person on there talking about personal sovereignty, individual sovereignty, and how where the sovereignty comes from, and they're very thorough and very studied, and it's a great place. So I'll even extend an invitation to my listeners if you're interested in sovereign issues and you're looking for a place to listen to some really good radio shows. And by the way, some pretty good music in between the shows. You might want to head out to MSI. That's a good place to go. Is there a link for that you could give out?
Yeah, sure. Let me get that for you real quick here. I gotta look at the other screen. Yes, people can go to. Actually, they haven't changed it over because it used to be TNS Radio. So that actual link in the browser is tnsradio.ning.com. tnsradio.ning.com. And that goes right directly to MSI Radio. Are you still there, Rick?
Oh, I'm serious. I'm sorry about that. I had myself muted, of course.
Okay.
But what I was trying to say while I was muted was, I know that if you go to tns.nigh.com, you have an opportunity to sign up for a chat room, a chat session, and there's a bunch of people on there all the time. I don't think some of those people ever sleep. Do they, Stephen?
Oh, well, actually, my show comes on at 7 p.m. Eastern, and that's actually midnight over in Ireland and the UK, which is where most of the listeners are from, is from Ireland, Scotland, and the UK, and other parts of probably Australia coming up pretty soon here, because we just picked up a Australian broadcaster. He's gonna have a show on, but there are 3 broadcasters here in America, so I would like to help, bring the sovereignty issue. I would like to be another forum to help bring the sovereignty into America, which is such a simple plan, such a simple solution.
Right. And I think that from what I've seen, Stephen, it looks like you've started to do that, as you've brought on some very good, informative guests. I know that if people would look up "Cancel the Cabal" on YouTube, you've got all your shows live streamed on the YouTube, and some of the ones that are my favorite. You mentioned Alfred Adask. He's revolutionary in the way he presents the sovereign movement, and so does David Frank, which, by the way, is going to be on this show this coming Thursday. David Frank's got some great ideas.
Yes, absolutely. He wanted me to plug his show coming up on yours. He said, well, tell him about me, Stephen. Tell him about me. I said, okay, I will. His plan is really kind of diabolically simple. It's just a computer program voting system instead of the actual computer technology that's run by the elite. This is going to be local computer technology voting systems. People that can actually vote on issues instead of voting for candidates, maybe. That's his plan, voting on issues. And you only get to vote. Well, I'll let him explain it.
Yeah, right. Well, what I appreciate about him is
as we were having a conversation the other night after your show, on into the next day, we were, I love how simply he puts it out there and explains it. You know, we can vote for people on American Idol. You know, we can vote winners on these reality shows, but when it comes to critical issues, we rely on 535 people in Washington. I just love that statement.
Exactly. It's supposed to be we the people tell them what to do, not them telling us what to do.
Right. So, Stephen, getting back to Stephen Roberts here. I know that you live in Michigan, and forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, I kept wanting to think that you were in Arizona. I don't know why, but I probably said that to myself so many times. But now I finally got that you live in Michigan. How are things there in Michigan, Stephen? Are you seeing things picking up there in Michigan? Are we moving towards better days? Are you seeing the boots on the ground, and are you seeing things getting progressively worse?
To tell you the truth, my little community around here, I don't see these boots on the ground things. It hasn't gotten to this area. Although there is a FEMA camp 25 miles from me, but and I have been getting some reports of things being starting to get implemented, but I actually need to get more contacts locally here instead of nationally. I do need to look at my own backyard here, so to speak, instead of somebody else's more often. And I am actually going to start doing that, because I need to mention David Frank is also a personal friend. I met him just about 3 months ago through another show's host. She introduced me to him. And we actually are only 10 minutes apart from each other. So we've met for lunch and talked quite often on Skype and on the phone. And we are going to start to implement his plan that he will explain to you. We're going to start doing this locally and see if we can get my forum of the Internet TV show to be the catalytic spark of a nationwide movement. If we can get like a monthly or a weekly show going with really, really good viewership and listeners, who knows? Things might steamroll, and this kind of a plan could go viral.
Yeah, we're counting on that, Stephen. We really are, and I'm right on board with you. I think it's a phenomenal idea, and I've been pitching it myself. And in fact, last night and again this morning, I had a conversation with Reverend Kevin Annett from Canada, who is instituted the international international common law court, and he's working with indigenous people from around the world who are bringing forth critical evidence of the deceit, fraud, and even genocide that's been going on against those indigenous people all around the world. And I tell you, it's a good entry point for any of us to get involved in what he's doing, because there are Native Americans in every state of this union. And if we take advantage of hooking up with those people and finding out what their issues are and what issues that they have against that behemoth corporation, we do have remedy through common law. We can institute juries, grand juries, and indict these people. and things are beginning to happen. He was telling me last night in that conference call that we did, and he was telling me again this morning in private some things that were very very encouraging. So that's another way that I would encourage people to get involved is look for local groups of indigenous people. They have ways and methods that we 14th Amendment citizens don't have.
Yes, absolutely. And what David Frank has told me on quite a few occasions here now, what our government and what the world's governments are doing to brown-skinned people. That's going to include the African race, the Middle Eastern people, the Asian race, right down to South Americans. What they have done to these non-white people, non-Caucasian people for hundreds and hundreds of years is soon going to come to the America, and soon going to come to everyone of every race. But Rick, do you have a couple-minute break or anything like that you can take, or?
Yeah, I can. I got something I can run while you take care of business, Stephen.
Okay, I do need a nature call here for a minute or so.
All right, no problem. Go ahead, sir, and we'll be right back. Do you remember the series of the 70s and 80s? You know, the Dukes of Hazzard, I Dream of Jeannie, Mork and Mindy, Hogan's Heroes, the list goes on and on and on. Of course you do. Why? Because they were family-friendly shows. What's the one place you can go on the internet to find them? www.retroshowsarbetter.com. Go by my A store and get yourself some popcorn and a movie and meet me there.
Feeling alone? You'll start regretting not being.
Okay, I'm here.
This is the House of Hidalgo show. I'm on with Stephen Roberts, and during the first half of our broadcast, Stephen Roberts was telling us about his experiences in journalism and journalism, not just journalism from a practical experience, but even an educational experience. And we've recently got into some sovereignty issues. And Stephen is with me here on the telephone. Stephen, you were just beginning to tell us about some things that were that you had discussed with David Frank.
Yes. Well, actually, I got him in contact with my last night's guest, and my last night's guest was Sandy Frost out of Tacoma, Washington. She's an independent journalist, and what David and Sandy, I've gotten them hooked up to, actually all three of us are going to try to implement his plan. I would like to use my internet television show as the as the forum for the plan. She's going to interview him and actually transcript the interview as a story for her news site, and hopefully with some promotion, people get to read about the plan first and then go actually see his speech on the plan. So that will be two different forums. They can see the plan and visualize it. And hopefully with the with the videos being produced and distributed throughout YouTube, there will be some kind of a viral effect, and communities will be able to get the word out of this plan.
Yeah, that would be great. And don't leave me out of the loop there, Stephen. I'd like to be a part of that as well. David Frank, when he comes on here Thursday night, I'm going to be sharing that with our group here in South Dakota, and I plan on having him on one of our conference calls Monday night in order to radically implement that same plan even here in our towns in South Dakota as well.
Yes, well, that's what I spoke to both David and Sandy this morning, just before an hour before I come on here, and I told them both that I could think of probably, well, there would be my 2 shows, and I could think of probably maybe 3 to 4 other shows that might also be interested in simulcasting the event. So there could possibly be up to 6 shows seeing the same event at the same time and getting viewerships all over the place. And who knows, if that could happen on a weekly basis, there might be countless amounts of shows that would want to simulcast it.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting. I would have to figure out the technology on that as to how to use Block Talk Radio to simulcast it, but maybe I can get some assistance from them and figure that out. So Stephen, do you have any shows coming up that you want to tell people about that are exciting?
Yeah, sure. I've gotten in contact. Let me get his name. I don't want to mess it up. I've got the email right here. Just need to look it up here. His first name is David. Okay, I just want to look the email up here real quick, so I don't mess it. David Krieger. He is from. David Krieger is from Clouded Titles. And what Clouded Titles is they're an organization down. That's actually the name of David's book. And that's coming up tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern on MSI Radio. What David's book is, and his organization is doing, is they are teaching people about the fraud that's going on in the banking system, the fraud of the Federal Reserve fiat currency system, and he is helping people getting out of their toxic mortgage debts, and he's helping them save their mortgages. He's helping them getting out of the toxic debt is the best way I can describe it.
Right. Well, when you say Clouded Titles, is he working with people on things like adverse possession?
I believe so. I'll have to ask him that, but I think so. Yes, I know he's going through the court systems, and they're having victories, and they're teaching people how to go through the court systems and save their mortgages without a lawyer.
Right. Yeah. And we all know what happens when you have a lawyer present you again or represent you. That sometimes you're paying a mortgage multiple times.
Yes, you will.
So you have him coming up. When did you say? Is that tonight? No,
tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night. Okay, tomorrow night, and then I know one of the shows I particularly enjoyed as well is you talked about cold fusion with Professor. Help me with the name.
Stephen Jones. Yes.
Yeah, Stephen Jones. I went back and I listened to that show. That was a very interesting show as well. Going back to some 9/11 truth.
Yes.
You know, are you planning on having him again sometime?
I possibly could. Yes, I had a good relationship with him, and I had a really good show, and I could always get in contact with him again, or I could pass that contact on to you.
Well, what I'm I guess what I'm referring to is you ask him some questions about free energy, and we those of us who have been involved in the sovereignty movement and been keeping an eye on things, we realize that free energy has been around since Tesla's day, back in the early 1900s, but because of manipulation and the lack of profit that could be made commercially from free energy, it was basically hidden from view for all these years. Now there are people around the world that have put together little machines that seem to produce energy based on just the interactions of the protons and neutrons, and it's just amazing stuff and amazing science. But I think the world's going that direction, and eventually they're going to have to. This stuff is going to come out, and when it does, it's going to solve a lot of issues. But that, I guess that's what I was getting at. Is you had some conversation with him about free energy. Did you learn anything from that, or did you have a better show out there where you had some conversation about free energy?
No, he was the only show that I'm sorry. He was the only guest that I had on that was working on the cold fusion energy, and I believe there have to be. I mean, there has to be lots of people out there, but we just have to get in contact with them to get more of a better message out there that the global elitists don't have the only game in town. There are countless communities that I've been hearing of popping up all over the country that are getting back to more basic ways of life, living off the land, not buying the processed foods, not drinking the poisonous water, not being so gullible and believing everything their government is telling them. And these messages need to be hit hard and given out to every forum possible to reach the masses.
Right. So I again, what I'm really trying to communicate here is that how deeply appreciative that we, the internet world and the YouTube world, are of you and the work that you've done in bringing these things to the forefront. So we thank you for that. You've done some great work interviewing some very impressive people.
Well, thank you.
So, we only got just under 6 minutes left on the show here. I was wondering, is there something that, that has your attention these days that you just like to, share with the listeners?
Well, I could share that little deal I shared with you earlier, but I haven't officially broke that yet. I want to write an article and then break it, and then I could come on and share the video and the article with you and your listeners. But basically, when I first started out in the internet TV, I wanted to tackle as many issues and get as many guests as I could on. And then 2 or 3 people started to mention to me that all my stuff was pretty good, and I was getting a lot of good people on, but they told me I should concentrate on maybe like 1 or 2 issues. And that's what I've actually done for the last month. I've started more to concentrate on the sovereignty issue, and I want to study the blacks' laws. I want to study the sovereign ways, study the terminologies, study the different uses, just study the entire subject, basically.
Right, you're gonna end up studying 2 opposite worlds. Is what you're gonna end up studying with looking at Black's law and looking at sovereignty, because they're face-to-face opposition of one another. One completely pushes God out of the way and says, "I am your God, and you have to worship me. Here's your number." And then the other one says, "I am created by God, and now I created you, so I'm removing my consent." So you got 2 completely at opposition worlds that you're looking at there. So that's a major study, Stephen. If you get through that and you still got half your brain cells, you're doing good.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, and I've always told people from the beginning of my awakening, because I heard it from somebody. He might have been Alex Jones. I don't remember now, but the phrase goes, we need to study the enemy because the enemy is surely studying us.
Yeah, no question about that. Have been studying us for quite some time. If you listen to Alex Jones long enough, he'll bring up a word that'll send you to the encyclopedia. He'll start talking about eugenics,
Yes.
and that always kind of gets me, because one of the things that I enjoy to do as a hobby in my pastime is some genealogical studies, and eugenicists just take that to the extreme. They take the whole genealogical system and they turn it on its head, and they evaluate every little gene and every little node, and in order to create the perfect bloodline. But also, we've got just under 2 minutes here, but you had a very good conversation with a gentleman who was running for Congress over in New York. A few, I don't know, has it been a month?
Yes, about somewhere in there.
Yeah, somewhere in there. It's been a month ago. You seem to be able to keep up with them when it comes to psychology. You have some psychological background in your study?
All the studies are just amateurish studies, Rick. I don't know if I'm a bit of a anomaly or not, but I've always studied people. I've always listened and watched people, and reasoned what their actions and what their words meant. And I've always had a decent pickup on psychological things. So it's all just been amateurishly driven.
Right. Well, I mean, that's, I've said it a lot of times on my show, and I'll say it again. One thing that always impresses me about the people that I bring on this show is that they're self-studied. I appreciate a self-studied person because they're not corrupted the same way as somebody who's taught from a book or taught from what's rote.
from a lecture standpoint in a university. So again, Stephen, I appreciate you, and we thank you for the work that you've done, and keep up the good work.
All right. Thank you again, Rick.
So for Stephen Roberts, this is Rick Hidalgo. This has been another episode of the House of Hidalgo show. Thank you for coming. God bless, and everyone stay safe.